yet rich, the church heaven called wealthy. They had no money, no influence, no protection. Some had lost their homes, others had lost their jobs, some were about to lose their lives. Yet heaven looked at them and said, "You are rich." This is the shocking story of the church in Smyrna, the poorest church, that Jesus called wealthy. The message to the church in Smyrna is one of the most powerful, sobering, and encouraging messages given through Revelation. Unlike most of the 7 churches, Smyrna received no rebuke, only encouragement, warning, and promise. This tells us something profound. God does not measure churches by comfort. He measures them by faithfulness. Today, success is measured by bank accounts, popularity, followers, influence. But heaven's economy is different. Because when Christ spoke to the church in Revelation, he revealed a truth that overturns human logic. Poverty does not mean lack, and wealth does not mean abundance. The message came from Jesus Christ himself, not an angel, not a prophet, not a preacher. The message was spoken by Jesus Christ and delivered through Apostle John to believers who were suffering intensely for their faith. And their message is still speaking to us today. Christ introduces himself to suffering believers, verse 8. These things says the first and the last, who was dead and came to life. Jesus chose a title specifically suited to their situation. He did not say, "I am the provider, I am the miracle worker." He said, "I am the one who conquered death." Why? Because Smyrna's believers were facing persecution, imprisonment, and possible execution. Christ reminds them, "The worst the world can do is kill the body, but I have already defeated death." Lesson: when believers face trials, Christ reveals himself in the form they need most. Jesus sees what others do not see. Verse 9. I know your works, tribulation, and poverty, but you are rich. Notice 3 realities. 1. They were afflicted. The word tribulation means crushing pressure, like grapes pressed for wine. They were being squeezed by government hostility, social rejection, economic discrimination too. They were poor. Many had likely lost jobs and property because of their faith. Yet Jesus says, "You are rich." Heaven's definition of wealth is different. 3. They were slandered, blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not. They faced false accusations and lies. This is a timeless truth. Faithful believers are often misunderstood before they are honored. Jesus praised this church out of 7 churches in Revelation. Smyrna was one of the only churches that received no rebuke. Think about that. No correction, no warning, no criticism, only encouragement. Why? Because suffering had purified them. Pain had refined them. Pressure had proven them. But he gave them a warning. Jesus told them something terrifying. Do not fear any of those things which you are about to suffer. He did not promise escape. He promised strength. Christianity is not the absence of storms. It is Christ's presence in storms. Fear is the enemy's favorite weapon. Why? Because fear paralyzes faith, silences testimony, weakens endurance. Jesus' instruction is simple. Do not fear, not because suffering won't come, but because God is still sovereign. Testing is coming. Verse 10b. The devil is about to throw some of you into prison. Notice something shocking. Jesus tells them suffering is coming before it happens. Why would God warn them? Because forewarned believers are stronger believers. Trials that surprise us often shake us. Trials we expect often strengthen us. He promised reward. Faith that survives comfort is common. Faith that survives suffering is rare. He issued the instruction, be faithful unto death. This is one of the strongest commands in Scripture. Jesus did not say, be famous, be successful, be influential. He said, be faithful. Faithfulness is heaven's highest standard. Not everyone is called to die for Christ, but every believer is called to live for Him faithfully. Today, many believers chase platforms, popularity, applause. But Smyrna teaches God is not impressed by visibility. He is impressed by faithfulness. You can be unknown to the world, ignored by people, overlooked by society, and still be rich in heaven's eyes. Jesus promised the crown of life. Ancient Smyrna was famous for athletic competitions. Winners received crowns, wreaths. Jesus uses imagery they understood. The world may give crowns for victory in games. I give crowns for victory in faith. This crown is eternal, imperishable, God-given, reserved for the faithful, not a crown of gold. A crown of life, meaning what they lost on earth, they would gain forever. And the final assurance, victory over the second death. He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death. There are two deaths, first death, which is physical death, and the second death, which is eternal separation from God. Jesus promises those who remain faithful to Him will never face eternal loss. Major lessons from Smyrna. 1. Faithfulness matters more than comfort. God is not impressed by ease. He is pleased by endurance. 2. Suffering does not mean God has abandoned you. Sometimes suffering is proof that God trusts you with a test. 3. Spiritual wealth is greater than material wealth. You can be poor on earth and rich in heaven. 4. Opposition often confirms calling. Resistance is sometimes evidence that you're walking in truth. 5. The ultimate reward is eternal. Temporary suffering leads to eternal glory. Today, many believers want blessing without testing, glory without sacrifice, reward without endurance. But Smyrna teaches the strongest churches are not always the largest. They are the most faithful. God is not looking for impressive believers. He is looking for faithful believers. Encouragement to the faithful. If you feel pressured, misunderstood, opposed, overlooked, take heart. You are walking the road of Smyrna, and Jesus is still saying, I know. He sees your tears, your sacrifices, your quiet obedience, your hidden battles. Nothing escapes His eyes. The message of Smyrna is not comfortable. It is courageous, not easy, but eternal. The question for us today is not, will suffering come? The question is, will we remain faithful when it does? Faithfulness in suffering produces crowns in eternity. Maybe you feel poor. Maybe life stripped things away. Maybe obedience cost you something. Hear this. Heaven is not measuring what you lost. Heaven is measuring what you kept. If you kept your faith, if you kept your devotion, if you kept your loyalty to Christ, then heaven is saying about you, you are rich. Let me share with you a true-to-life story. In a quiet town lived a man named Reagan. Reagan was not known for wealth. He was known for faith. He lived in a small, aging apartment with peeling paint, a flickering bulb, and furniture older than he was. His shoes were worn. His phone was cracked. His salary barely covered food. But every morning before sunrise, Reagan knelt beside his bed and prayed. Not short prayers, not rushed prayers, deep prayers. Neighbors often wondered how someone with so little could look so peaceful. Reagan had not always been poor. Years earlier, he worked at a large firm. He was respected, rising fast, admired by colleagues. But when the company demanded dishonest practices, Reagan refused. They told him, "Everyone does it. Just sign." He said, "I cannot dishonor God for promotion." He lost his job that day. Friends laughed, Colleagues mocked. Relatives questioned his sanity. One even said, "Your faith is making you poor." Months passed. Savings ran out. Opportunities vanished. Doors closed. Some nights Reagan went to bed hungry, yet every morning he still prayed, "Lord, keep my heart faithful even if my hands stay empty." One afternoon he met an old co-worker driving a luxury car. The man rolled down his window and smirked. "Still holding on to that faith? Look where it got you." Reagan smiled gently and replied, "It got me peace." The man laughed and drove off. No one saw Daniel's real wealth. They did not see the widow he secretly bought groceries for the child whose school fees he paid anonymously, the nights he prayed for people who insulted him, the joy that filled his room when he worshipped alone. The world counted money. Heaven counted faithfulness. One evening during prayer, Reagan read these words, "I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich." He stopped. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he understood. God was not ignoring his poverty. God was redefining it. He whispered, "So I am rich, in your eyes." Years later, a former colleague fell into crisis. Legal trouble, debt, broken family, reputation destroyed. He remembered Reagan. He visited Reagan's small apartment and broke down crying. "I had everything and lost it all. You had nothing and still have peace. What do you have that I don't?" Reagan answered softly, "Christ." That day, the man gave his life to God. The truth heaven sees. Reagan never became famous, never became wealthy, never became influential. But heaven recorded something greater. He stayed faithful. And according to Christ's promise, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." The world called Reagan poor. Heaven called him rich. Real riches are not measured by possessions. They are measured by faithfulness under pressure. Earth may call you poor. Heaven may call you priceless. Would you rather be rich on earth or rich in eternity? Comment: earth or eternity?